Hey everybody, this is Jim Fuge, and this is guitarbyjimi.com. And in today's free lesson, I'm going to teach the lead break to "And the Cradle Will Rock" by Van Halen, a great song. And you know, it's one of those solos by Eddie, well, a lot of solos by Eddie, that it's blinding fast, that one part, and I know you know which part I'm talking about, that nobody has ever gotten right. And I want to show it to you 100% note for note off the record. I promise. And if you learn it the way I'm teaching it to you, you'll be floored how off the record it is, and you get it up to speed. It'll sound exactly like the record. So it'll also give you, see, this is another thing that's important to my teaching style that I want to point out. You know, I love giving more than just a lesson in hand, because you become a better player. Isn't that what you really want? You don't just want the solo, right? You want to become a better player as well. So I'm going to give you a lot of little tips and things in this solo, and insights to Eddie's playing and just guitar playing in general. So I decided to give this one up for free, although I probably should have charged for it, because I just wanted to show, you know, Van Halen's up there in my list of players too, that I got all his notes off the record. I got him down pretty well, like Page and other guys like that. And he's good. He's a good guy to learn, because he's got a unique style, let's face it. And he's got some great runs, you know. And you know, I also have Eruption on my website for sale, but and I can tell you it's 100% note for note off the record, spot on. It's a long lesson. I think it's like an hour or something. But if you learn Eruption through me, I promise you it is 100% off the record. Every little nuance, and so much Eddieisms to learn his style. If you're an Eddie guy and you're into him, you owe it to yourself to check out my website. I'm going to put more Van Halen on my website too down the road. I'm going to put all the tough ones like I'm the One, Sinner Swing, which, by the way, I'm going to morph a little bit today because I don't care. But Sinner Swing actually might be the fastest lead break I think Eddie Van Halen's ever done on record. I just wanted to point that out. What's fast? Eruption's pretty fast. You know what I'm talking about, the tough parts. But you know what I think is faster than Eruption at certain parts is Spanish Fly, which I'm going to put on there too as well. So Spanish Fly is probably very close second as one of the fastest, not necessarily better or greater or anything like that, but one of the fastest leads he's ever done is Spanish Fly. But I think the fastest lead break he's ever done, I think it's just funny to point this out, is Sinner Swing. And that's a great tune. And it's odd timing too. It's 4/4, but it's very strange how it works. I used to play it in a band, so I know. And it's that lead break, as you know, as soon as he starts the lead break, it's just full throttle, man, from the beginning to the very end, all the way out to the end. I mean, he doesn't take a breath on that solo. I mean, I just love that solo. It's just pure kick-ass rock and throttle, fast speed only, you know what I mean? So anyway, on the note of fast, there's one part in here, and I know you know what I'm talking about, that's a really fast run. What is it? Boy, a lot of people have it a million different ways, but I'm telling you, trust me on this, this is 100% note for note off the record, and when I show it to you, you're going to be amazed at what he's actually playing. Also, there's a lot of different things in here that definitely nobody's got right, and I also want to point out too, not just that fast part. So let's get on with it, all right? So this is "And the Cradle Will Rock" by Van Halen, and I'm going to do both lead breaks, although let's face it, the first one's the tough one. So what's strange about this song anyway is that it's in the key of kind of A, actually, you know, 440 tuning, normal tuning, as opposed to half step down like Eddie always tunes to. It's actually a little bit lower than standard tuning. So who knows, maybe he picked up a guitar. Maybe he was using, let's see, that's the Women and Children first. I think he was using a Dean sometimes, a Dean guitar in that album. So maybe he chose one that was a little tuned higher but a little bit lower, so it's not exactly a half step down. It's more of regular key, regular tuning, but it's just a little bit lower. So it's a strange kind of, you know, it's just where, I guess, where his guitar fell, and then Michael Anthony tuned up to him, blah, blah, blah. So that's the first funny thing about it. So, you know, let's say for all intents and purposes the song is in A, right? And then when it goes to the lead break, right? And now, see, by the way, before I start even teaching this, I just want to point out the key chords to the song behind it that he's playing on that piano, that Wurlitzer, are actually pretty strange. It's so C to B flat, then he goes F, then F minor. Isn't that weird? So I just, you know, I mean, it's just interesting to know this stuff, because it's really going behind the scenes. Then the fast riff. Then what's the last chord? I think is It's either B flat or like a C with a B note in it, a B flat note in it. Anyway, so I just think that's interesting to point out. So now let's get on with it. Now this is, again, is 100% off the record, every little nuance, and I'm going to tell you how to get Eddie down quick too. So he starts out, hits a C note, then it's kind of like, you know, the kind of the eruptions kind of stuff, you know. So a C triad, starting with a C note first. Now, trust me on this. I've listened to this over 1,000 times, and I've just on and on and on and on and on. I break it out into parts if I can't get it, and I just keep listening to the one part. Stop, keep listening to the one part. Every little part in this solo was fast, especially the big one coming up. So this part here is 3 times, not 2. 3 times. Then he moves up a half step, stays with the C note, twice. Then moves up a half step again, twice. So it's 3, 3, 2, 2. Okay? That's exactly what he's playing. So okay, now the next note is a quick F sharp note. He's moving into position. It is not a G note. I repeat, it is not a G note. I say this with 110% confidence. I'm telling you, I've listened to this lead break 1,000 times. So, okay, so it's in there. I mean, he just lifted his finger there, but it's F sharp. It's no G yet. Then what he does is, he does not hit a G note. He bends from an F to a G. Okay, so it's like this. Okay, it's, as you can see, it's hard to slow this down and teach this part. Okay, so he stretches from an F to a G. Then he hits puts his finger like on an A flat, but it's really intending to be B flat because he's up a step already. Right, then he hits it. Then he bends with his ring finger while this is on here. Okay, so he's just kind of moving the B flat. He's kind of going like this. Okay, then he comes down. Then he goes to an E note, not an E flat note. Okay, listen to it now that you know this. And between an E and an F. Okay, it's not E flat. E flat is too low. You hear it? It's too low. Okay, so we have this. It's, again, it's hard to slow down, but let's do it. Oops. Okay. And by the way, I'm not at a ridiculously loud volume, so it's hard to sustain perfectly like he's doing. He's at a loud kicking volume. So if you got that, then the next thing he does is not what everybody says on YouTube, so please pay attention. It's not this. It's not. It is from this position, but that's not what he's doing. This is what he's doing. He's going from a D to an E flat. So this is a mini lesson, but he's here doing it. So how does he do it? How does he do it? He kind of, you know, quick pre-bend. So he's not going from C to E flat. Listen to it. It sounds too long of a move. It's so he's kind of pre-bent in the air. So bend first before you pick. Then he comes down to a C. So it's really D to E flat is how he's bending it. Okay? So how do you do this? You kind of get ready to bend and then pick while you're up in the air. Now, here's the mini lesson on this one. Who did he get this from? One of his favorite guitar players, Eric Clapton. Okay, that's a Claptonism. Clapton does that a lot, where he'll kind of get ready, get moving, bending, not hit anything yet, and then grab the note a little up in the air. And then when he comes down, since he pre-bent, if he comes down actually lower than the note that you hear that he started. You see what I'm saying? It's really D is where he's starting. But he's coming down to a C. See, now isn't that a weird effect? And that's what also tricks people to thinking it was a C note where he started, but it was not. It was an E flat note. See, it's too long of a stretch. So he was already pre-bent. Okay, listen, don't forget, this is going at 100 miles an hour too. But so it's a weird effect. Your brain thinks it starts from C because that's where he definitely comes down to, but it's not. He starts really on a D note, kind of a pre-bend, and then start picking it. Get ready to start bending and then pick it when you're in the air. Weird. It's a cool technique, by the way. So now he kind of palm mutes it. Excuse me. And he picks the hell out of it. Little palm muting in between. Okay, so now, before I move on to the next section, for anybody who wants to know mathematically, I counted it so at least you can remember this. It's 11 times of this note. I mean, I can't count it actually because I just do it by feel, but I counted it so you would know it's 11 times of that note. Then you come down to C. So how do you get this part down phrasing-wise? Here's how you do it. You come down. Now this is why I told you what the chords are. It's also good to know. When he hits the F minor on the keyboard, that's when you come down. See? So that's how you feel that. When he hits that F minor and he changes chords on the Wurlitzer, that's when you come down to the C note. Okay? So back to come down to the C note, then he goes B flat C, then same thing but he bends it. Wiggle a little bit. You have to bend down on that. So come down, pick it once. Okay, so far so good. All right. Now here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The most important part of this solo that nobody gets right. What the hell are the notes that he's playing over here? Is it an arpeggio? Sounds like it actually, doesn't it? Kind of like that. I see a lot of people on YouTube just doing a C major scale. Something like that. It's not what he's doing. Now, this is a mini lesson. Okay, so Eddie, was probably one of the pioneers to do 3 notes per string to make things sound really fast. He figured out smart that, hey, if I just did 3 notes per string, you can make things sound fast. And he also favors 1, 2, and 4 on his fingers, by the way, as you might know. Let's just do this for a minute. Let's back up, right? If you just did 1, 2, and 4 on your fingers, let's start over here. Don't think anything musically for a second, but just watch. So, if you just did 1, 2, 4 on your fingers, sounds like a lot of stuff, right? Because you got 3 notes per string. It's a very efficient way to run down the neck quick. That's not even picking it, right? So these 3 notes per string Eddie started doing. He may have stole it from Alan Holdsworth, also one of his favorite players. Now, here's another thing he definitely took from Alan Holdsworth. Okay, this is why this is morphing into a lot of lessons today. Eddie watched Alan Holdsworth when he was growing up and realized that Alan Holdsworth, if you don't know who he is, look him up. Alan Holdsworth. He's an old fusion, older fusion guy. He played with a lot of the greats. What Alan Holdsworth used to do was stretch his fingers so wide that he'd get strange intervals, right? So like when you go like this, let's stay in the key of C for a minute. And then you go on to the next string. Not too bad. We start stretching it. Not too bad. Stretch it a little more. Now all of a sudden you're hitting an F note on the same string, and then you're starting on another F note on the next string. So now it sounds weird to your ear. Well, you're hitting the F note twice, right? Now you're hitting the B flat note twice. So the more you can stretch your hands, you can get strange sounds by doing that. So you know, we're morphing back into the lesson. So this is what Eddie's doing on here, and he's taking advantage of 3 notes per string to really get a lot of notes in there quick. And he's also stretching his hands so that he gets strange intervals of notes, all right, which may quickly to your ear sound like kind of an arpeggio or a C major scale, but it's not. Okay, so I'm going to tell you the notes in a second, and we're almost there. So here's what he does also, which I never see anybody get right, and this is an Eddie Van Halenism. He's ready to take off and do this fast riff. He doesn't go, he doesn't do that. He goes like this. Slides from a C to a D. Yeah, believe it or not. Listen to it, and you'll hear it. Now that I've told you this, this is an Eddie Van Halenism. This is what he does in a lot of things. It's one of the things he kind of made up when he was developing his own style. He does it in Spanish Fly. So he goes, he slides from a C to an E flat, then he does that riff, and then he slides back and does whatever it is, I can't remember off the top of my head. So anyway, so he does it in many other places, by the way, too. I just happen to think of Spanish Fly. So what he's doing is he's doing that Eddie Van Halenism. He slides from a C to a D. Now, why does he do that? I don't know. I think it sets him up for what he's going to start ripping. Instead of just ripping, I think it sets him up, and he's funny like that. All right, so he goes from a C to a D, and these, again, I can't stress this enough, 100% off the record, note for note. It's C, D, and F. Again, this weird stretch, which, believe me, I'm sure he was conscious of it when he did it. It's not C, D, E. It's not. It is not. Listen to it. It's hard to hear, but I'm telling you, I've listened to it 1,000 times, actually more. So it's C, D, F. Okay? And thankfully, it's all hammered. Okay, so those 3 notes, C, D, F. Then he jumps to here. And this is where it does kind of start sounding like the major scale, but again, this is where he likes to trick people like us. G, B, A. Okay? He could have went E. Did he miss it in overstretch? Maybe, but I doubt it. I think he thought this one through. Okay? He's very conscious of the fact that when you stretch your hands wider than normal, it creates strange intervals. He's very conscious of that, Mr. Van Halen. So I'm sure he did it on purpose. Okay, then he goes C. Okay, C, E, C. All hammered. Okay, C, E, C. Listen to that that beginning slur. Weird, huh? Now, the thing that really makes this tricky is he just keeps going into another riff, which is very not like this, which is not like that, which is messes people up like us on purpose. So, and then he takes, so you got that, right? Then he takes the C note, he slides up to an E, G, B flat C, then bend the B flat to C. Okay, some people say it's A, it's not. It's clear as day. And that's all picked. Now, okay, he hammers what he can. I'm sorry, I should take that back. He hammers what he can there, but what he can't, he has to pick. Okay, then he hits the C note, Then he goes, bends from an E flat to an F, and he overbends on purpose, slightly overbend in an F for effect. Then he comes down chromatically. Okay, now on this, so anyway, so let's do that slowly. Okay, so after that, there's a little finesse here now. So then he, halfway through it, he lowers his volume, and then he does also a Clapton-esque thing, what I call the whip. Whip! Not so pronounced, hold on. There's a little whip there. That's a Clapton effect. Whip! So that's Clapton Crossroads, one of Eddie's favorite leads, by the way. So, full volume. Half lower the volume. Little whip, little effect. Then he's around half volume now, and very. He was attacking really hard, and now he's really playing light. So good finesse, Mr. Van Halen. Slightly muted. Very good finesse. You know, you just came from going. Very soft finesse. Okay, so let's try that slowly from the top. Oops. Pre-bend. You hear it? Whip. I'm at very low volume, by the way. It's hard to make this sound perfect. But it sounds weird, I know. And I'm telling you, this is what he does. We'll do it up to speed in a minute. So then, have you seen Junior's grades? Then he goes twice down here. Then 3 times. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Then he does like an A minor ninth. Then a G like add 9. Okay, then he goes. Okay. Then he does, I'm going to leave it up to you how you want to play it. He probably is using his finger, but let me just play what the notes are first. 3 times. A note first. 3 times. Sorry. Okay. So what you could do is, okay, come back down. Okay. I like it both ways, actually. It depends on what mood I'm in. He probably used his finger. Sounds more like his finger. This part is definitely not, the first part is not this. It's not with his finger because you can hear him pick it. I don't know. I like it both ways. It all depends. Okay, and then this last part is actually a lot of people get wrong as well. So he goes like, he holds a D and a G and an A. which by the way is an old blues kind of positioning, and he goes, so he starts stretching from a D to an E. It's a strange riff, actually. So he grabs the D coming up to an E, and he starts stretch. Then he lets go of the G string. All right, but I'm keeping my finger on the high E for a reason, because he's going to end up with there. So you keep your fingers on all three strings, here on the high E, here on the B, and here on the G. So then he stops touching the G string, and now the B string is a little bit in the air. Now he stretches from a G to an A note. Then he picks the B string. See, it's an interesting effect, right? So, see that? Let me see if I'm close enough. See how I let go of the G string? Pretty cool, huh? So, so that's and the Cradle will rock. So let's hope to God I can do this up to speed. Let's see. I messed up that one part, but you know, hey, that's a hard part to get right. Whoops. It's hard, man. Try to resist the temptation to go 100 times. You gotta just think after, move on, go forward this way. You gotta just break your mind into two separate parts. Don't forget to lower your volume and then go. And I'm sorry, I like it that way too. Oh, by the way, there's a technical term for this, how fast he's playing here. It's called, what's the technical musical term for that? I'm trying to think. It's 64 30-second notes, or it's called AFAYC, as fast as you can. So that's exactly what he just played, I think, as fast as he can. So, make sure you bend down, because it's hard to get that. Little finesse there, huh? So, I actually got it pretty good there, actually. So if I just relax and not think about it, I'll get it. I'm looking at myself, trying to teach this, so, you know, if I play relax with the record, I play usually right all the time. So that's, and the Cradle will rock. I mean, there's a lot of Eddieisms in there. Listen for the... So again, like when you get something that's really fast like this, break it into two parts. The other thing that's tricky too is right after that is another very completely different phrase. A lot of pick attack. It's fun. Oops. See, actually I'm making my own mistakes. So, see, See, this is why you get crazy with the guitar, man. It's the only way to get these fast leads down is to listen to them 1,000 times and then play them 2,000 times. See? If you just practice it over and over, you'll get it. Don't forget the little whip. So, that's And the Cradle Will Rock by Van Halen. And I hope you enjoyed this lesson as much as me giving it to you. It's a free lesson by guitarbyjimi.com. Make sure you check out my website. I have Eruption on there, note for note. I have a few other things, and I'm going to put a lot of Van Halen on there too. Like all the old classics from Van Halen 1, 2, and Women and Children First, and 1984. I got a lot of good stuff I'm going to put on there in the next few months, so keep a lookout for it. But I do have Eruption, like I said, off the record. So I'm Jim Fooge, and this is guitarbyjimi.com, and this is 100% off the record, note for note, and the Cradle Will Rock. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Send me comments, share it with your friends, subscribe, and all that kind of stuff, and turn people out to my website. I appreciate it very much, guys. Thank you, and rock on. Talk to you guys later.